Hey all, my name is Brock. Welcome to Envy Athletics, and today we're going to talk about how the Envy Rack can take your golf game to the next level. Did you know that if the typical 10 index player added 25 yards to their tee shot, they would typically see an improvement of 2.5 strokes per round? This is according to Lou Stagner from GolfStat Pro. The Envy Rack is the perfect tool to increase your rotational power to add those 25 yards to your tee shot. We don't have any professional golf trainers here at Envy Athletics. However, when creating this program, we looked at the best in the world. Dr. Greg Rose from Titleist Performance Institute and Scott Stallings from Hard Work Pays Off Golf were the two people that we looked to when creating this training regimen. With their expertise and the Envy Rack's non-varying resistance, we believe we have one of the best programs to increase the power of your golf swing. We start off the program with some key warm-up and mobility exercises. Mobility is key when generating rotational power, and these exercises are a great way to unlock the mobility of your shoulders, core, and your hips. We're going to start off with T-spine rotations, and we prefer the lunge variation. This variation allows you to stretch out your hips as well. Palms should go down to brace against your knee and let the Envy Rack pull your chest open as much as possible. Keep in mind with all these stretches and mobility drills, we want to avoid static stretching. Golf is a dynamic sport and we need to move dynamically when warming up. This is another variation of a T-spine rotation that locks your hips in place so you get a little bit more stretch in that middle back. Then we're going to move to thread the needle. This is another good middle back stretch as well as shoulder stretch, and it's working in the opposite rotation of the previous T-spine rotation we just did. Then we're going to move to hip hinge halos. Arms are going to stay straight on this to work on that shoulder mobility and work on that middle back stability and strength. Next, we're moving on to windmills. This is a very difficult exercise, but a great one that helps with mobility in your shoulders, backs, hips, and hamstrings. The Envy Rack is a great way to do this exercise because it keeps your shoulders safe. However, if you're lacking the mobility, feel free to ditch the Envy Rack and just use the body weight. This one is hip and torso rotations. Set up in your golf stance and focus on the best range of motion you can for your hip rotations, alternating back and forth while rotating your torso as much as possible. One of the more difficult exercises to do, overhead squats. Notice we have our heels elevated on this one because we're not worried about our ankle mobility. We're focusing on middle back and shoulders. The Envy Rack allows you to focus on the stability of each shoulder independently. We know this is a difficult one, but a very important one if we want to focus on our middle back and shoulders strength and mobility. Split leg deadlift with rotations. We have a few variations of this one. The first variation is going to be set at a low point and we're going to rotate to our lead leg. Then with that same low point, we're going to rotate away from our lead leg. Work on not letting your knee cave in and really feel that deep stretch in that lead hip. Next variation is going to be from the high point attachment, once again rotating to that lead leg. Then with that same high point attachment, rotate away from your lead leg. It is not shown here, but make sure you're switching sides and facing the opposite direction for each variation. Now let's talk about your golf swing, and this is where the Envy Rack really shines, allowing you to add non-varying resistance while practicing your golf swing. Starting off with hip rotations, a great way to prime your body and make sure that you're using hip rotations and not hip sway in your swing. Notice one bungee is attached to each side of your hip and you're rotating away from the bungees. Moving on to some resisted swings, this one is actually to help your swing plane. Most golfers are going to be too high in their backswing on their driver. This is a great way to reinforce athletes to keep the club at a 45-degree angle in their backswing. This variation is just used with the cable handle. However, if where you're working at allows it, we always recommend using a golf club to help train. We know everyone's swing is going to look a little bit different. However, the goal should be aiming for that 45-degree backswing and always end with that good high finish. Now focusing on the resistance backswing. This should be a slow and controlled movement, just like a real golf swing. Once again, focusing on that 45-degree angle with the best range of motion you can. When using a golf club, we recommend using those hand or wrist straps. We also recommend attaching the bungee to your lead hand. Play around with how close or how far away you stand from the anchor point to play around that resistance angle. Now working on the downswing, our focus is going to be our speed and power. The Envy Rack is going to be attached high and we're going to bump up the resistance. Get the best range of motion you can on the backswing and focus on a big, powerful downswing. If you're using a club, you might have to take a step in front of the squat rack. With this one, you can attach to the backhand or lead hand, whichever feels more comfortable. Once again, a big backswing followed by a fast and powerful downswing. Since we're not getting a full follow through on this downswing drill, now is a good time to practice the timing of your hip and shoulder rotation. Now putting it all together for a full resisted golf swing. Attaching the upright Envy Rack to your hip while the other Envy Rack is providing resistance for your swing. You're able to get the full range of motion of your golf swing on this one. And since the Envy Rack resistance is pulling down, it's going to act as overspeed training for your downswing. Having the resistance on your hips and on your hands simultaneously is a great way to practice good timing. With this exercise, we recommend keeping the Envy Rack resistance at level 1, allowing you to generate your max force output, but without affecting your form. When using a club, make sure the Envy Rack is attached to your lead arm. This is one of the best exercises you can do to increase your club speed, and if you have to choose one exercise to add into the program, make sure it's this one. We realize everyone doesn't have their own 3D straps, however, if you do have one, it works amazing, but this is a great alternative. Use the NV rack belt attachment. Slipping that into your back shoulder and putting it around your back allows you to increase the resistance of your torso rotation. And the NV rack resistance can be bumped up to your athlete's ability level. We recommend having the NV rack arms slightly below or at hip height. This is a variation where it is resisting your torso rotation. However, the game-changing aspect of this setup is using it for overspeed training. Overspeed training is such a vital component when training for speed and power, and is used in so many other sports, but it is not utilized in golf the way it should be. These are some setups to work on overspeed training for your golf swing. The first one is a simple setup with the handle strap wrapped around your back. The second setup can be a wrist wrap attached around the upper bicep of your lead arm. And the last one once again uses that 3D strap, however this time it is wrapped around your lead shoulder and behind your back. This one is one of our favorites as you can feel the difference in your swing right away. Make sure you continue to focus on the timing of your swing because the speed of your torso rotation is greatly enhanced on this exercise. Increasing your overall power output is a great way to improve your golf game. However, this last portion of this workout is just going to be focusing on rotational power and stability. To add in a full body functional fitness routine, we recommend you checking out our other workouts, or check out Hard Work Pays Off Golf. They have a full body functional fitness program that's easy to follow along with. Lunge with rotation is a great exercise because it's working your core, your hips, and your shoulders, all focusing on strength and stability. Making sure you switch legs and change directions. A good modification for this exercise is to put your back knee on the ground. Barbell rotations, focusing on core strength and your mobility. Try to be in that hip hinge golf stance and get as much rotation as you can in both directions. We recommend using a light 15-pound training bar or an easy curl bar. Golf stance pal-off press. This is a simple anti-rotation exercise focusing on core strength and stability. Feel free to double up the bungee on this one and increase the NV rack resistance to make it more difficult. Getting into more explosive movements, pull and press. This exercise is focusing on rotational power in your core and hips and shoulders. Try to be in your golf stance when you're doing this exercise and rotate your hips. This is a great exercise to practice being explosive and as powerful as possible in your rotations. Power torso rotations would normally be done in an upright position. However, we're going to be getting into our golf stance and be as powerful as possible with our rotations. Keep in mind that we want to be doing all of these exercises on both sides of our body. Alternating loaded rows. This can be done with no weight with just the NV rack resistance set to high. Or you can add dumbbells to add a little bit more weight. This exercise is targeting our obliques and our middle back while focusing on our weight distribution during our hip rotations. Good exercise to end on, kneeling wood chops, an exercise once again focusing on being as powerful as possible in our rotations. Thanks for watching. Make sure you download the full program on our website, and if you have any questions, make sure you email us.